Passive aggressiveness is when I've harbored enough anger inside of me and it starts to destroy my relationships because it is making decisions for you. Okay, so I recently had someone ask me if I could define this toxic trait of passive aggressiveness and to give you guys an understanding of what's actually going on a physiological level and how to work with someone that might be passive aggressive or how to deal with it for yourself. So I've been passively aggressive multiple times in my life. It is a pattern that I go to often, and it has a lot to do with boundary. Now, we need to kind of back up before we dive into that. Let's just talk about emotion in general. Emotion is the driving force of your life. All of your decisions, we make decisions based off of emotions, and then we rationalize them after. Our mind comes in after. You know, emotions are the unseen force that drive everything. They're what cause you to get married. They're what cause you to have babies. They're what cause war. They're what end war. I guarantee if you look back at all of your decisions, you've made them based off the emotional state of how you're feeling in that moment. Emotions are energy in motion. They are designed to move through us. They're designed to be expressed. And in a healthy body, you could look at a child, for example, emotions take about 90 seconds to move through your system. Now, we live in a world where people are afraid of emotions. We're afraid of what we might do when we're feeling an emotion. We're afraid of how we might treat other people when something's coming up emotionally for us. We have weeded out our emotional intelligence and a lot of the processes that allow us to move emotions through ourselves. We've been told to, sit down, suck it up, shut up. Don't let yourself feel, hold it all together, be tough, right? We are emotional beings, and so emotions are designed to move through us. They're designed to be expressed. It's just about having a healthy way to express them. Look at passive aggressiveness. Take, for example, anger, because anger is probably the root of this passive aggression. Passive meaning not fully shown, kind of behind the scenes, aggression being this anger that's coming out. I've had people come to me and say, I'm not an angry person. Well, you're a human, so I'll tell you that you probably will experience anger some point in your life. You're a human. Humans experience anger. And if you have not let yourself feel anger, well, then you probably have suppressed anger. Nobody is necessarily an angry person because emotions are energy in motion and they are designed to move through you. They're a state that you're experiencing for a little bit of time, and if you have a healthy system that allows emotions to move through you, it usually takes about 90 seconds and then you're back to normal. The people that are angry people are the ones that have not found a healthy outlet to express anger. Now, anger specifically is around boundary. When I am a child, I'm starting to individuate, which means that I'm starting to become my own person and I'm starting to learn what my boundary is, what's me and what's them. I no longer am intrinsically connected with my parents' experience, and my experience starts to separate. Well, then I have to start figuring out my boundaries. When somebody crosses my boundary, when someone does something that I don't like, well, a lot of the times I will feel an emotion around that. Anger is designed to create boundary. It's designed to show you where people have stepped over the line and they've gone too far. The same thing can happen as an adult. If somebody is hurting my family or my friends, best believe I'm going to be angry because they are overstepping boundary. When we make decisions from an emotionally muddied place, we usually act out of that anger. And that can be that we can make poor decisions. We can hurt people. We can hurt ourselves. And so it's about creating a space for that anger to move through you first so that you're not muddied by the emotion, and then you can make a clear decision. Now, what happens with the toxic trait of passive aggressiveness, the toxin is actually the repressed, suppressed, maybe even depressed densification of that anger in your system because it has not had an ability to be expressed. If somebody is crossing my boundary over and over and over again, or perhaps I'm not actually expressing myself and letting people know where my boundaries are at, I start to harbor this anger and I start to hold on to it. When I hold on to it and I actually don't listen to it, I don't have enough emotional intelligence, enough somatic awareness to actually feel when I'm angry, well, then that anger's got to go somewhere. Every emotion is energy in motion. It has to go somewhere. So what happens is it gets harbored inside of my system, and then it becomes passive. It gets very sneaky. And so it'll find ways to move through, and it finds unconscious or subconscious ways. So then the next time I'm interacting with different people in my life and someone's crossing a boundary, or maybe they're not even crossing a boundary, maybe I just have that anger stored inside of me, well, it's going to try to come out in these leaky ways of this toxic trait of passive aggressiveness. How do I sort of heal that? There's multiple different ways, but developing emotional intelligence is having a healthy outlet for all of these emotions, knowing that I'm an emotional being and my ability to feel is my birthright. It's how you were born into this world, to feel the full spectrum of emotions, to feel the highest of highs, to feel the lowest of lows. We go through these ebbs and flows in our life, and if we cut ourselves off from feeling some of these deep emotions such as anger, well, we're not going to be able to let ourselves feel some of the highs as well. With passive aggressiveness, it is making decisions for you. Therefore, you're actually not conscious of the ways in which that anger is coming out. This is where I'm such a proponent of a modality such as somatic breathwork, because it creates a place, a space for these different emotions to come up and to move through you. And that way you can clear it out so you can make clear decisions. Because the emotion is just informing you. If it's sadness, well, something is hurting my heart, and it's informing me about that. If it's anger, someone is crossing my boundary, and I actually need to be able to express in a healthy way that someone's crossing my boundary. Well, we need to move the emotion through us first before we actually make those decisions. Passive aggressiveness is when I've harbored enough anger inside of me that my body does not want to hold it anymore, and it starts to leak out in these very sneaky ways, and it starts to destroy my relationships because it's coming out in an unconscious way. I start to become reactive versus responsible. Something happens and it just irks me a little bit. Well, then that aggression is the thing that wants to bubble up, and it's going to come through first. It's going to come up without me even having the ability to have a conscious choice around it. So the first step is developing somatic awareness, emotional intelligence, knowing when I'm actually feeling something and being honest with myself fully. It's developing a deep objective awareness of self and knowing that I'm a human and it's okay for me to feel. It's okay for me to feel anger. It's okay for me to feel sadness. It's okay for me to feel shame, whatever it is, as long as I don't get stuck there. The only way I get stuck there is if I don't allow myself to move through it. And so if I allow myself to move through it in a healthy way, then it's informing me on something. And so what is the information coming? Is someone stepping over my boundary? Am I not claiming my boundary? Because a lot of times we can harbor anger because someone continues to step over these boundaries that I'm actually not even aware of. And so the next thing is, once I've cleared out the muddiness of this emotion, I become aware, I become informed on the information that it's telling me. So what is it telling me? I might need to sit with myself. I might need to breathe through it. And then after that, it's taking action on the thing that it's informing me on. I might need to be completely honest with myself, with the other person, that, hey, this is hurting me, or hey, you're crossing my boundary. hey, you're doing something that does not feel good to me. And then it's developing enough emotional literacy, somatic literacy, being able to tap into myself via the awareness, and then can I actually communicate what I'm feeling? Imagine if we lived in a world where people actually could communicate what they are feeling. Most of us, we don't even know what we're feeling first, therefore we can't communicate it. So it's a process, you guys. I hope this was informative to you, and I am so thankful. Let me know what other topics you guys want to hear from me. Let me know in the comments. I love you so much, and until next time.